This is why you don't give an ice queen a love story. And so turn into this, you turn into this. Hello once again, watchers of good movies. My name is Nick Pell and this is once again coming from my apartment. Now today we are going to be talking about the film The Huntsman, Winter's War. This is a prequel, sequel of sorts, more of a sequel than anything ultimately, to I believe 2012's Snow White and the Huntsman. This is a movie that I actually enjoyed, Snow White and the Huntsman, that is. I remember seeing it in theaters. It was at the height of Kristen Stewart's fame, and it was the first thing that I had actually seen her in outside of Twilight. And I thought she did good. Chris Hemsworth, that's the first thing that he did outside of Thor that I saw. He also did good, and I enjoyed that movie ultimately. It's a very interesting retelling of the story of Snow White, and it's very close to or very soon after the debut of Once Upon a Time, which also has that Snow White as a warrior versus the evil queen type of storyline. But as I said, this is a prequel sequel, so it starts off as a prequel, and we get introduced to the evil queen from the first movie, and we get to see her sister, who is ultimately this ice queen. She starts out without ice powers, falls in love, has a kid and husband die, and she gets all pissed off and decides to be furious, and emotions arise, and she develops ice abilities. She takes off for the north, frees all the children from the power of love, basically. She frees them from love because she sees that love is a burden and not something good and all that. This is where Chris Hemsworth and Jessica Chastain come in. They are huntsmen per se, huntsman, huntswoman, and they end up being her key fighters, her captains per se, and they end up falling in love, as you could predict with this movie. They get found out by the Queen. Queen separates them. Chris Hemsworth goes off to the Snow White and the Huntsman storyline, and Jessica Chastain, we don't know what her fate ultimately is. And then the film picks up 7 years later, so after the events of Snow White and the Huntsman, and that's where the rest of the movie takes place. So that's why I say it's a prequel sequel. It starts off as a prequel, it's very smoothly kind of skips over the events of Snow White and the Huntsman, and then moves on from there. I thought Chris Hemsworth did fine in this movie. I didn't really expect a whole lot from him. My favorite role for him is still Thor. I love the first movie, the second one's fine. So yeah, seeing him in these other things, he does fine, like in The Heart of the Sea last year. Again, a fine performance, but nothing really that blows me away or is going to blow away audiences. Jessica Chastain, again, fine. She's good with what she's got material-wise. Emily Blunt as the Ice Queen, I actually enjoyed it a little bit more than I was expecting to, because you can kind of feel the pain that she is going through, and the reasons why she just wants to banish all love because it has betrayed her, supposedly. And so she's trying to banish that from the world. But you can't fight human instinct, and yeah. The problem with this movie, though, is that it's boring for about 80% of the movie. It's a very generic story in regards to, oh hey, this group of people, they have to go find this object. Oh, guess what happens to the object? And they have to go find it again and ultimately confront Big Bad. And twists and turns happen along the way, most of which are predictable. Some decent characters. There are 4 dwarves which end up following them in their hunting party, and they have some decent dialogue and decent scenes as secondary characters, but for the most part, I don't really care about any characters in this movie, because one thing that I think the film and this franchise might have benefited from, actually, is being split into a trilogy, per se. Now listen, quick. The first film could have been focused on the 2 queens, the 2 sisters, the Evil Queen from Snow White and Huntsman, and the Ice Queen from this movie. Seeing them as kids, growing up, seeing their differences, and then ultimately ending with the Ice Queen going north after her child and husband are killed, and just ending with that. And then second movie focuses on Chris Hemsworth and Jessica Chastain as children growing up in this army, becoming huntsmen and huntswomen, ultimately falling in love, and then ending with their separation and Chris Hemsworth growing off to become part of Snow White and the Huntsman. Third movie takes place during the rest of this movie and is able to develop these characters more, because we would have dealt with them for 2 movies and seen their development and had decent emotions and ties to these characters, which would have made a lot of some of the scenes that are in this movie a lot more effective. Those are just things which I think would have helped the movie a lot, because there's just a lot of scenes which could have worked so much better if we had known these characters a lot better, and they just fall flat as a result. The fight scenes themselves, they do fine. They're action-packed and fun to watch and everything like that, and they're choreographed fairly well. The ice effects for Emily Blunt also look very, very good, I thought. I had really no issues with any of the special effects in this movie. The goblins, which show up for a moment in this movie, they looked a little bit cheesy, but nothing which really took me out of the movie. And then the last 20 minutes or so, the final finale fight per se, that's actually really well done. It was one of my favorite parts of the movie. It might have been because the rest of the movie was very, very boring and I wasn't really that interested, but this final act per se worked quite nicely, I thought, and it was one of my, again, favorite parts of the movie because it kind of just did what I finally wanted the movie to do a little bit. Ultimately, The Huntsman, Winter's War isn't really anything too special. Again, performances are fine in the movie, but yeah, it's nothing that I'm going to go out rushing to see again anytime soon. It doesn't really add anything too terribly significant to the Snow White story. Part of that is because Kristen Stewart just is not in this movie whatsoever, I think. But yeah, if you're a huge fan of this type of story, I guess check it out if you're interested, or if you really enjoyed the first one like I did, you might find something more to it than I did. But I just didn't find it terribly interesting. Most people probably won't either. But those are just my thoughts, guys. Let me know yours in the comments down below. Did you like the film as much as I did? Did you hate it more than I did? Let me know. Like, favorite, comment, and subscribe once again if you so choose. I'd appreciate it immensely. And as always, man, people, my name is Nick Pell. And once again, keep on watching.